Hello, I am Ilona, and today I want to talk about more specifically Latgalian language, why it is still a dialect, and about dialects in general. First of all, Latgalian language is a branch of Baltic languages. It's very close to Latvian language, but it is still not considered a separate language, obviously for political reasons. If we have the languages which are separate languages in Europe already, which are much closer to each other than Latgalian is to Latvian, but they are considered languages. But at the same time, Latgalian, which is more different from Latvian, is considered a dialect, and also at the same time, when a dialect supposedly have variations and different dialects within. That means it is a dialect within a dialect, and that is weird, really. How I look at the Latgalian language, it doesn't matter if someone recognizes it or not. It is still a language. For some kind of reasons, Latgalians were considered like some kind of inferior people, and that's not Latvia's problem. It is everywhere problem, especially in Europe. It was always like it changed. It is changing now. It changed recently, but there were usually one, this literal language, official language, mm, which was correct, and all the other variations are incorrect. We have this similar situation. For example, in Russia, I am not even talking about smaller minority languages which are going extinct, like Finnic languages, for example. But can you imagine such a huge country like Russia? And can you guess how many dialects of Russian they have? They do have some, but you would expect for this huge country like thousands of dialects, thousands, because even in small Latvia we have at least two. One would be this Kuronian, then Standard Latvian and Latgalian. But even, yes, as I said, Latgalian is not, Latgali, people don't speak the same. There are variations. Yes. So having dialects, variations in language is normal. And when someone starts to correcting, this is not correct way to say it in Russian or to say it in Latvian. I disagree with that. I think every dialect is a part of your local culture, your local identity, and it is important. People were laughing at my accent. Oh, actually, I lived all my life. I grew all my life, but with speaking with some kind of accent in any languages, and I was always well, I don't want to say bullied, but to some extent sometimes, because if I spoke Latvian, I had accent. If I spoke Russian, I had accent. When I speak English, I have accent. I always have accent. But what I wanted to say, yes. So Latgalians gave country name to Latvia. So Latvia is named after Latgalian people. Latgalians gave flag. It's Latgalian flag. Ancient Latgalian flag. Yes, now we have a different Latgalian flag, but yes. And also, what is important, what I want to add, is that we know that the ancient Latgalians of obviously already existed. So there was already different groups of different speaking peoples even before Livonia, before Germans and everything. So Latgalians already existed as a separate group. How different these languages were, like compared Latgalian and Lithuanian, for example, I think they were at that time also very close, and probably all these Baltic languages, at least, like in modern Latvia and maybe northern Lithuania, were very similar, and people could communicate with each other maybe without much of a problem. But why I am saying this is that when we think about modern Latgalian, that it is not the same as ancient Latgalian. Yes, of course, it is not. Same as modern Latvian or modern Lithuanian is not the same as ancient ancestral languages. But knowing that, at what point, why do we think that modern Latgalian is specifically this the split off Latvian and became what it became now? Only when Latgale was under Polish-Lithuanian Commonwealth. If we know that this separation already happened before, yes, it was heavily affected by Polish and Lithuanian during that time, but also before that, these people were doing stuff with each other. So even back then, it was already separate language. And why do we assume there was no continuity from those ancient Latgalians to modern Latgalians if DNA definitely suggests there is, first of all? Yes, I don't know why some people, and I was also kind of like under this false narrative with this misconception that modern Latvian language is descendant or the base for the modern Latvian language was ancient Latgalian language, but that's not true. It wasn't. Modern Latvian is based on, uh, first of all Baltic languages spoken in now what is now Latvia, but and also in more, including more like the central Latvia part. The divergence was way before from what is now maybe standard Latvian, what we consider standard Latvian, was way before this Polish-Lithuanian Commonwealth, and way before the Latgalian language was affected, and by these languages like Polish and Lithuanian.